Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back for your daily crypto news and analysis. And today, we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the entire, market, because there is a lot of things that are impacting the space right now in a very positive, but also even in a very negative way as well. And it's all really kind of revolving around these new major bills, legislation, moves, you name it. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about it. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. Let's dive on in to this post here from Alexander Grieve over on X. And we do see Senator Elizabeth Warren really ramping up the anti-stablecoin letters. Of course she is. Why not, right? Here's another one to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen calling on her to push for including nodes in the DeFi system in the AML sanction or sections of any stablecoin legislation. Like, this is comical to me, right? It's pretty much targeting every single thing in crypto. I mean, think about it like this, right? We just got a Wells notice for Uniswap. Prior to that, I think it was PancakeSwap as well. There is so many attacks happening around the DeFi ecosystem. And do you ever question why it's DeFi that's getting targeted? How about this? Better yet, do you understand why privacy tokens like Monero are heavily targeted? It's because the government is so tax hungry. They want to make sure that they are getting you every single way possible, especially DeFi. But also, they're trying to attack DeFi because they want to kill DeFi. They want DeFi to have the institutions at the top of the food chain, just like the banking system is today. Because the bankers, the major institutions, they still are trying to feed that greed pit that they have in their stomach. They want to make sure that they're making their money, even if it is DeFi. So when we look at this, right, it's all based around this AML, KYC nonsense. And it's so funny because, we don't have a lot of these issues happening around fiat currencies, right? Like when you look at fiat currencies, they always say, oh, well, when you're utilizing fiat currencies, you're already KYC'd, you're already doing this. Guys, last time I checked, if I put a ton of money in a briefcase and I hand it off to someone, that transaction is not trackable. You can't trace that transaction. All of the stuff that we're seeing around this space, whether it be DeFi or not, right? It doesn't matter if you're KYC to a wallet address. There's other ways to track that wallet address back to you, even regardless if you KYC'd or not. The idea of this AML KYC, mandate on everything, it's ridiculous. And it's just another way for them to actually control this space. On-chain transactions, like I said, whether it be DeFi or not, can be tracked and traced. It can be tracked through IP. All right, you're utilizing a VPN. Okay, that's fine. There's still other ways to track and trace it. Think about it. You're utilizing phones, computers. There's always going to be a mistake made where they can track you back to those wallet addresses. I see so many people saying like, oh, well, this is going to, kill the idea of getting tracked, or, oh, I could utilize DeFi and, completely avoid KYC and AML. There's other ways to track and trace things. There's other things that they can look into. But the reason why I bring that up is because we constantly see this back and forth between, Elizabeth Warren, or whether that be Elizabeth Warren or, Jamie Dimon and all these pro bankers. They're always saying that the space needs stricter AML and KYC. And listen, I do think that AML and KYC is a fine regulation. I don't think that's a major problem. But in DeFi, it completely kills the entire idea of DeFi itself. But we have Warren financial regulators have determined that crypto assets issued over public blockchains are highly unlikely to be consistent with safety and soundness principles, so private blockchains by banks like JP Morgan are okay then. Where did Warren, the bank cop, go? We miss her. And yeah, this is the funny thing, right? Like, if we look at what Elizabeth Warren has been doing, remember, Elizabeth Warren oversees what the SEC does as well. For anybody out there that is not aware of this, yes, she's actually supposed to be extremely hard on Gary Gensler, asking him the hard-hitting questions, making sure that he is on top of everything that he is doing. She's also supposed to be a bank cop, technically. But what she's actually doing is helping the bankers providing the SEC with everything that the SEC needs to also help the bankers, while attacking and trying to kill the DeFi ecosystem and even trying to attack crypto for every single thing that crypto has in it, whether that be stablecoins, DeFi itself, decentralized exchanges, everything. But remember, right, that even within this, we also get another mention of something that's very interesting. Do you know what that is? It is Custodia Bank. Now, I think that this is something that they probably should have left out of it. Caitlin Long, the founder and CEO of Custodia Bank, said, "Hey, Elizabeth Warren, thanks for raining attention on Custodia Bank 2 times this week. As usual, you completely missed the risk to the banking system. Maybe you should consider consulting someone who actually de-risks a large bank instead of blindly spewing talking points. My door is open." You know full well, Elizabeth Warren, that banks apply bank-level BSA laws that exceed non-banks requirements. If you were serious about AML/terrorist financing, you'd want this activity inside the bank regulatory perimeter. Yet you oppose any involvement by banks whatsoever. And it's funny, right? Because they always allude to the idea that, crypto's being utilized, allude to the idea that crypto is being utilized for terrorist financing, and it's utilized for like drug dealing and all this stuff. It's like, again, I could drop off a briefcase full of money to anyone, anywhere in the world, for illegal activity, and that cannot be traced, that cannot be tracked. That money can be then washed and utilized like it's any other dollar. Why is crypto being targeted so heavily like this when everything is on chain? All of every single amount of evidence that you need is on chain. Yet we're sitting here talking like we're 5-year-olds about AML and KYC around crypto. Why are we not applying the same laws and rules to major banks? Why are we not going after Jamie Dimon, who openly admitted that, yes, the bank is also being utilized by, drug dealers or, illicit finance individuals? Like, why are we not going after Jamie Dimon? Oh, yeah, that's right, because JP Morgan is the biggest bank in the US. It can't fail and they can't target it. Focus on where the money's going because people are getting paid off. There's a lot of corruption here. This is a big problem. But remember that this is coming off the back of this announcement back in April 9th, right? As Congress returns this week and crypto returns to the convo, Elizabeth Warren is out with a letter to McHenry and Waters, throwing cold water on the idea of a stablecoin bill. Efforts to create new regulatory frameworks around the $157 billion stablecoin market, including those that aim to fold stablecoins deeper into the banking sector, could amplify and entrench risk rather than mitigate them. And we have down here, as Congress continues to deliberate over the appropriate regulatory framework for stablecoins, policymakers should be wary of efforts to integrate them into the banking system. And also, Caitlin Long also responded back to this as well. She said, "Wow, what a brazen power grab by Elizabeth Warren, a U.S. senator trying to control legislation in the House, just as she controls Biden's financial policy. Her ends justify the means overreach so she can enact a CBDC. Is not even a secret anymore. Separation of powers has no meaning to her. Don't forget who's really behind the widespread crackdown on pretty much anything tech forward in U.S. payments." And here we actually have formal enforcement actions directed at partner banks. Here we have partner banks and non-partner banks. Very interesting. And we have great work by Conrad Alt shedding light on the debanking of fintech. Only 3% of U.S. banks are partner banks to fintechs, but 35% of bank regulators' enforcement actions were aimed at these 3% of banks. It's not just crypto caught in Operation Choke Point 2.0. And yeah, this is a problem, right? Even banks are now being targeted as well. This is a big issue going on right now inside of the US. And it's really all centered around a CBDC as well. Regardless of if you think that a CBDC is going to happen or not, I've always said they're inevitable. Every single major central bank outside of the US is also moving on a CBDC. The Fed already showed their hand. Again, go all the way back to March of 2022. We got an actual bill regarding a CBDC and also an executive order regarding a CBDC. It's not a secret anymore. But they are trying to make sure that a CBDC is the only really the big thing here, because they continue to try to target crypto. They continue to try to target any bank that is touching crypto. It is insane to me at this point that this is going unnoticed by, a lot of these major individuals that could make a difference. Or is that just by plan? Do they want this to be a big problem? Like, you have a lot of these congressional members that are, ousting Gary Gensler in the SEC while doing absolutely nothing. Where's the subpoena against Gary Gensler for FTX? Like, where's a lot of these, actions that we require from these congressional members, where all they do is talk and talk and talk about what they're going to do, and why Gary Gensler is such a failure and why the SEC is failing. Do something. Provide action to your wards. But even when it comes to Elizabeth Warren, this is someone that is extremely dangerous. Not because her bills get passed, but it's because of who she is also talking with, who she's reaching out to. Her connections are what makes her dangerous. But over here we have from Johnny Dean. I just read Elizabeth Warren's letter to Patrick McHenry and Waters addressing the FSC's efforts to introduce a stablecoin bill. My first question to Senator Warren is whether Jamie Dimon and the Bank Policy Institute wrote this letter similar to the way they wrote her anti-crypto bill. Why is Elizabeth Warren running interference on bipartisan efforts to reduce friction, improve efficiencies, and protect consumers? Over a decade ago, Elizabeth Warren went to Washington, D.C., promising she would hold the banking industry accountable. Today, she has effectively become the industry's biggest lobbyist. And I did include this in a previous video, right? Because this is coming off of the backs of, this is coming off the backs of these major announcements around this letter that she's sending in. Because again, every single action from Elizabeth Warren, going even back to 2023, 2022, 2021, you name it, has always been negative regarding crypto. But the fact that we're bringing this back up almost, a week ago? This is a week ago, right? Now, a week later, we get this. Ramping up the anti-stablecoin letters, the anti-DeFi letters. This is just insane to me. But also, there's two clips that I found very interesting that recently got posted. They came up on my timeline. The first one is actually from Digital Asset Investor. The second one is from Subjective Views to actually kind of reinforce this, right? We have the anatomy of a faked crypto hit job hearing the star of the setup, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Americans are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Vote the corrupt career politician out. Check this out.
How is it right now that Hamas has access to money or some form of financing for themselves?
They are increasingly, in my view, turning to alternative means of financing, given what we've done in terms of their ability to do the traditional financial system.
So what does it mean, alternative means of financing?
One of those is cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is a means that while we're using every tool we have, we need additional tools to go after.
Okay. And it's not just Hamas and terrorists that are using crypto financing. North Korea, ransomware gangs, drug traffickers, distributors of child sexual abuse materials. Name your bad guy. And crypto is the way that they can move money around.
As Deputy Secretary of Treasury, I nominate Wally Adierno. Wally is, Wally, I don't know. I tell you what, Senator Warren really likes you. She highly recommended you, but I wasn't sure she worried I stole you as well. But
and this is the big problem, right? It's not just, even going back to the SEC, it's not a Gary Gensler problem. It's not an Elizabeth Warren problem. It is such a big issue around the entire political scene. All of these politicians are dirty in some sort of way. And it's all to push their agenda, all to support the monopoly system. And who's at the head of the table? Who is at the head of the table? These major banking individuals like Jamie Dimon. It is ridiculous that this is out there in the open. Nobody's raising any major questions and nothing is happening about it. And then also over here, in exchange for Senator Warren's endorsement, Biden basically handed her decision-making authority over the financial agencies. That is why we have a war against crypto, and everyone in the community should take note of this. Check this out.
I'm not saying this because I'm some partisan hack. I mean, the other side would tell you this. There's a whole of government opposition to crypto today. And it's not an accident, and it's not based on the nuances of securities law. It's a policy judgment that was made at the time of the election. And what I mean by that is that a thing that happened in the 2020 election that's not as widely known as it should be is when then candidate Biden was running for office, and if you remember, he lost the first two primaries. So he was not looking like a likely winner. And he went into the South Carolina primary, which was the best chance he had of locking up, delegates going into the next Super Tuesday campaign. Elizabeth Warren at the time was a strong candidate. She was seen as a very viable opposition candidate to him. There was basically Biden, Sanders, and Warren. Warren struck a deal with the Biden campaign during the South Carolina primary. This is a true story, which basically said, listen, in exchange, because this was her talking, I don't see a path to raising enough money to get through Super Tuesday, even if I might come in second here, blah, blah, blah. So I tell you what, I will drop out and I will endorse you if you will agree that I get decision-making authority over the financial agencies. So I get to pick the heads of those agencies, and those agencies are going to agree to implement an agenda that I have. And this makes sense, right? Because her whole career was about consumer finance and consumer bankruptcies. I mean, she cares more about these issues than any other single person. And that deal was struck. So she endorsed Biden. Biden then became the nominee and won the election. What you see today, therefore, it's not Gary Gensler reading the securities laws and saying, regrettably, Ethereum might meet the standards to be a security. He was put there to fight crypto. Right? Remember, Elizabeth Warren has a campaign apparatus called the Anti-Crypto Army. That's her name, not mine. So too with the acting controller of the currency, another person who was picked from the Warren world to come and enact that policy at the OCC. So too, a number of other key people, specifically including the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler. What you would see in a Trump administration is something that would be very, very different. So first of all, and I take a little bit of personal credit for this, it's not all me, but I think I was the first person to start this conversation. I spent a lot of time with the Senate Banking Committee Republicans and the House Financial Services Republicans talking to them about the...
So there you guys have it. And again, this is a big... this should piss everyone off, I'm being completely honest with you. Because what we are uncovering here is the fact that, yes, Elizabeth Warren, she's the one that is planting these seeds in this market. She's the one that is pushing this. This is why I say that she's extremely dangerous, because of the connections that she has, the path that she basically, really kind of created for herself. And it's all to push the agenda. It's all to push the anti-crypto agenda. And why would she want to push that agenda? Well, the same exact way that criminals use fiat currency is the same exact way that these politicians use fiat-based currency. It's very easy for them to ink deals and, pay off people and, you name it, right? So they don't like the idea of crypto being utilized in the same light, or, even crypto becoming this big market where it's ultimately putting a lot of pressure on the banking system. It can cause problems around the banking system. They also know that crypto so far has been continuously growing and growing and growing, and it's only going to continue to grow at massive rates to the point where it will start to take dominance from the banks. It will start to take, savings accounts from the banks. Why? Well, because you can earn a lot more money in DeFi, for an example, than you could earn in a traditional bank. They don't like the idea of this market that is, for the longest time has been a very, small market, but lately it has been growing tremendously at massive rates to the point where now it is actually putting a lot of pressure on the banks. It is starting to become, a big threat to the banks. And Elizabeth Warren, just like Brad Sherman or, some of these big players out there on Congress and even outside of Congress, these politicians, you name it, she's a pro-banker. These pro-bankers utilize everything in their disposal to make sure that they get their way, whether that be sending out an email to Gary Gensler, reading off the entire questions and answers that she's going to ask, or just like this, which clearly is scripted in a sense. You have her, asking the question and then sitting there knowing that she's going to get the response that she's going to be getting because she already colluded with these individuals. It is insane to me that this is what we look look to in terms of legislation or bill making or just anything around crypto or outside of crypto. These are the people that are in control. These are the people that make laws, that push laws, push legislation. This is the issue in the US. This is the issue that's in the US that's not outside of the US in majority of these nations that are now very progressive on innovation and pushing crypto into a light where now these companies, these builders, they can go to these areas and build freely. The UAE, for an example, is a great example of very pro crypto innovation. Go there, build, do whatever you want. It's very pro crypto. In the US, you're walking on eggshells constantly. This is a problem. And like I said, this should piss anyone out there off. This is why everyone has been pro Johnny Deaton in terms of becoming the next big player. Because if he does, and if he beats Elizabeth Warren, then things can probably, and I say probably because there's a lot of obstacles, things can probably finally get done in a good way around crypto. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. You guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.